The Rue Center serves the elderly who live in the slums, and during our time here we have seen the personal struggles the elderly we serve face regarding their living conditions. The slums are privately owned and government properties which the people have been squatting on for many generations. Some have been squatting on the same piece of property for over 50 years and believe they should be able to stay there another 50 years. However, landowners are starting to take back their land, leaving our friends in very tough situations. The Rue Center has only 2 staff in Bangkok who visit over 15 slum communities in Bangkok. This means one community is visited twice a month. If one of our elderly needs extra care, like taken to the hospital, daily wound cleaning, assistance with medicine, or just needs extra love and care, it can be difficult for our 2 staff to give the full support each community needs. The solution God has revealed to the Rue Center is to build an assisted living community. This community will allow our team to provide more consistent, loving environment for the elderly who have no other means of assistance. Due to no family, inability to earn income because of age or sickness, and no support from the communities they are currently living in. Currently, we have a temporary living community in Ban Rai, and in February 2020, the Rue Center received the final financial support needed to complete Phase 1 of our permanent community, purchase of the land. After 5+ years of prayer and support raising, the Rue Center was able to purchase 86 rai, which is about 34 acres. The first step after the purchase of the property was to have the government come out and mark the property line. During this process, approximately 50 concrete poles were hand dug and put into place around the property. After the government confirmed the property line, the next step was to prepare a space to relocate the shipping container workshop that's located in Bangkok and move it to the property. Once the shipping container was relocated, power lines needed to be run to the property. In order to do this, property owners need to install their own power poles and the electric wire. Now that we have power, it's time to have a bathroom. So we built a roof over the container and extended it to cover the bathroom, have a porch, and workspace in the shade. If you haven't noticed, you will now. Most of this work has been done with a small team of just 4 to 5 people helping. Now that we have power and a bathroom, it's time to have water. So we dug a solar-powered well, which will not only supply water to the bathroom, but will also be used to water all vegetation. Now it's time to build the porch floor. So we took concrete slabs and laid them out across the front of the container and along the side for a place to wash off the tractor and work on equipment. It's time to start planting, and we started with banana trees. We had 3 rows to begin with, but now we have 5. The majority of our crops will be cocoa trees, which we will harvest and be able to sell to make a profit. This profit will be used to support all projects and staff at the assisted living community. When we first began digging the holes for the trees, we were using a post hole digger on the back of a tractor. However, the ground was so tough that it was impossible to dig the holes with the post hole digger. So we brought in an excavator to come in and dig the holes, which then the rain came and filled all of the holes up with water. Because the field was used as rice paddies in the past, the ground is used to just holding on to the water and not absorbing it. Therefore, we decided to till up the ground and make mounds, and then in the soft dirt, dig the holes for the trees. Planting over 2,700 cocoa trees is a lot of work for a team of 6, so we called in the troops. Over 30 volunteers came and helped us plant the trees over a 3-day span. While we didn't have all the trees planted before the teams left, they did help us tremendously by getting a good start. The first cocoa tree was planted June 22nd, 2020, and on July 15th, 2020, our team of 5 finally planted the last of the 2,700 cocoa trees in the ground. Now that the cocoa trees are planted, we started planting more trees: mango, papaya, coconut, and many more. Everything we have planted will be used to help sustain the community, either through selling at the local market to raise finances or used on site to help feed the community. Everything for phase 1 is now planted. So what's next? Well, when you've got over 3,000 trees on a property, you've got a lot of TLC to give. So we've gone back to each and every row, pulled weeds, checked water lines, made sure that everything was growing, replaced plants that have died off, and go back and do it all again. When you're in the middle of trials and tribulations, it's hard to stop and say, okay, why is this happening? It's a lot easier to get frustrated in the moment. Like when we began to dig the holes with the post hole digger attached to the tractor, and that didn't work. So then we brought in the excavator to dig the holes, and that didn't work. To then finally building up the mounds and putting each tree up off the ground. Well, God knew what he was doing when he stopped us with the first 2 tries. Because when the floods came in during rainy season, our whole property flooded. Thank God, God is God, and stopped us. Otherwise, all of our trees would have been flooded out. Another source to help us be self-sustaining is we've stocked the pond full of fish. Now that phase 1, the purchase of the land, and phase 2, to start develop the land with self-sustaining resources, it's time to start fundraising for phase 3. Phase 3 will cost a little over 100,000 US dollars, or 128,000 Canadian dollars, or 3 million baht. Phase 3 will start building staff and team housing as well as an office. Once phase 3 is completed, we will then move on to phase 4, which is to start moving elderly from our temporary living situation to full-time on-site. But before we can have the elderly move on-site, we have to have phase 3 of building staff housing completed. Phase 4 of elderly housing will also consist of building a barn and start having livestock on site. Phases 5, 6, and 7 will all depend on the need for having elderly housing on site. We will either then start raising more money to build more spaces for elderly housing, or start building the church, or build the medical facility. All of those ors will just depend on what God has for the future of our community. We thank you for your support and your prayers, and if you would like to get involved either financially or just be an advocate on our behalf, we would love to hear from you.